Hi everyone, and welcome to this information session about the graduate programs here at Polytechnique Montréal. When we talk about graduate programs, we're talking about our professional programs, DESS, and non-professional masters, and also our research programs, the research-based masters and the PhD. So today you're going to learn about all these programs to make a good choice when coming to Polytechnique Montréal. I remind you that you can ask your questions during all the presentation. So to do this, it's really simple. You have to log in your account, YouTube or Google account. If you don't have an account, you need to do one in order to have access to the chat, and then just send us your questions. Today I have with me my colleague Maud Barassa that's going to explain you about our programs. So Maud, now your turn.
Hi, welcome everyone, and welcome to this conference presenting you our graduate programs. So my name is Maud Barassa, and I'm a senior prospective student advisor at Poly. I will show you the, excuse me, I'm just missing the clicker, so I'll be able to transfer the slides right away. Sorry about that. So the structure of the conference today will be presenting you a bit of Polytechnique Montréal. If you don't know this school yet, we'll go through, as Renato mentioned, the overview of all the graduate programs, the professional and the research-based ones. So we will also focus on the research done at Polytechnique because it's one of the strengths that we have at Poly. And also, if you are intending to start graduate programs, maybe you don't know yet what's the added value to go further through in your studies. So we'll talk about the added value of graduate studies. We'll go through also to the admission process for you to be able to send your application at the school, and we'll finish with a question period. So to talk a bit about Polytechnique Montréal, for those of you who don't know the school, we have a population of 9,400 students that are only studying in engineering at the different graduate and undergrad level. It represents 26% at the graduate level, and we are very proud of this because it's what's qualified the school. And we are very proud of having 27% in women, which is not something easy to get because engineering, as we know, could be considered as a men profession. So having this, we count on the top of Canada having that amount of women studying with us. If you are an international student, don't worry, you will not be the only one studying with us because we count more than 26% students coming from abroad with a student visa. And obviously, as I mentioned before, we want to focus on research, and why Poly is very strong in research is because we receive $95 million per year in research budget that serves our professors to provide funding to their students and to get in the top researchers in the world. So talking about research, you see here on the screen 8 spheres of excellence in research that Poly determined over the years, which are not programs. These spheres of excellence, they are multidisciplinary, and our 12 engineering programs at the graduate level can be inserted in these spheres of excellence. So for example, energy, water, and resources can touch the energy engineering programs. It can touch also the civil engineering programs. So all of these spheres are very multidisciplinary, and many professors from different fields of engineering can be working in these spheres of excellence. If you go on our website visiting these spheres of excellence, you'll see that we present different kind of projects, example of projects for you to work with our professors on these subjects. So we really invite you to go to that website and see which apply and which one will be good for you to apply. Because when we talk about research, working or choosing a school is not the only choice you have to make. You have to make to decide to choose with a specific professor, and the professor you will choose represent your career. It will be part of your resume. So you have to choose one professor working on a sphere of excellence or in the target discipline, and a school also, and Poly offer you both. Offer you a high-level quality research as well as very good resume from our professors. So now, through the 12 engineering programs that we offer, we have different structure programs. So we have the DESS and the non-thesis masters that are considered the professional programs, and we also have the research-based masters and the PhD that are considered the research programs. They have different length and different structure that you can see on the screen. So the DESS will go through on the next slide, but most of it, it's only courses, while the non-thesis masters, it's almost the DESS plus an internship and or a project. And while the research has small amount of courses with a big part of research and a production of a thesis. If you are admitted or you plan to get an admission on one of these programs, it will be able for you to change from one program to another if you don't make the right choice or you are not admitted in your first choice. So don't worry with that. We have all planned for you in this sense for changing programs over your course of studies if this is what you want. So going through the programs overview, as you see, there is two columns I will present you. So the non-thesis programs and the research programs. As I mentioned, the DESS and the non-thesis masters are in the professional programs. And you see in the legend here above that the non-thesis masters will refer to the blue circles and the DESS will only refer to the green circles. So let's start with what applied only to the master. The masters, as we have seen in the structure before, present you a 15 weeks internship or a small research project. There's a possibility of combining both, but you will have to adjust to the number of credits reserved to that part of your studies. This internship can be done in a company located either in Montreal, outside of Montreal in the province of Quebec, or it can be also done in another country internationally. This is also accepted. If you decide to go for a short project, it will be funded also as the internship would be. This short project will be given by a professor and you'll be working in a lab at Polytechnique Montréal that could be related to the industry also because this project could come from the industry. So in both cases, you'll be paid for your work and you'll have a small part reserved for that in your master. Also, as I mentioned, if either you choose the internship or you go for a small project, you'll have a collaboration with the industry because these projects are not fell from the clouds. They come from somewhere and they come from real problems. So the problems might be from the head of your researcher or it can be from the industry. And so you'll have to solve these problems in a real way. Obviously, if you do an internship, then if you do a good job, you'll be collaborating with the industry and it may lead to a job offer afterwards. So obviously, if you get a job offer, you'll be professionally employed. So it will be easy path for you to put one step forward into the job market and start your professional resume. Obviously, if you go for the research project, then you should count on the contacts of your researchers that will be the one giving you the project. It has many connections in the companies and in the professional world, so it will be easy for you to find a job also. You'll be professionally employable. Now these two coming points will focus on the DESS and on the non-thesis masters. It's all about courses à la carte. So no matter which program you target, no matter which engineering field you target, you will be able to select all the courses you want to do to accumulate the number of credits you need to fulfill to get your diploma. So there is one course that you don't want to take because it doesn't sound interesting, you don't take it. You take another one instead, and then you build your curriculum this way. So this is really something very flexible for you to select what's of interest for you. It gives you also, as I mentioned, the great flexibility, either in choosing when you want to study, at what time you would like to study, which courses you would like to take, because it's all à la carte. So some students will decide to study the minimum amount of credits per semester, which is at the graduate level to be considered full-time, is 9 credit semesters. International students need to be full-time, so they need to take 9 credit semester, which is about 3 courses per semester. This is a full-time. So if you go full-time at 9 credit semester, or you take 12 credit semesters, then you may go faster than someone who goes part-time during his studies. Obviously, you will finish the amount of credits of your master, which is 45, more quickly. It gives you also the flexibility of taking your internship or your research program during, let's say, your first summer semester when there's not so many classes offered. You will choose to do your internship to go faster and to reduce the length of your program. But if you decide to do something else during your first summer, you don't want to study, you want to take rest, that's also possible, even if you're international students, because there is no obligation for you to study in summer. If you keep that internship or that project at the end of your program, then it means that your program will maybe take longer, which is about 2 years most of the time, but some students can finish it in 16 months or 20 months. Let's go now to the research programs. So we talk about the research-based masters that is done after the career in engineering, and the PhD that is done after the research masters. So the research program, they include, as we've seen on the previous slide, they have courses. The number of courses is very smaller compared to the non-thesis programs, which are about 5 courses before doing your research. And then so after you add all the research project, which is producing your thesis. So these courses will allow you to get prepared to do your research. So they will be very linked to your research program or your research doing with your researcher or supervisor, and they will give you all the methodology for you to write your thesis. Obviously, when we talk about research, we talk about work, because producing a thesis is not something easy, and we know that. So our professors, when they accept you in one of their teams for doing research with them, they will provide most of the time financial support. When we talk about financial support, it's how much you may ask. So at the research masters, research-based masters, we talk about $18,500, and for the PhD, it's $22,000 per year. It's a great amount of money. It's also in Canadian dollars, and this money is free of income tax, but it doesn't come naturally. So you have to work for it, and you have to discuss when trying to find a supervisor to work with. You have to discuss with that person to see if there is some financial support available, because this is not a scholarship. This is not a salary. This is really some money that comes from the government or from an industrial partner for you to do some work of research related to what is doing your supervisor. Doing research also will allow you, even at the research-based master, will allow you to publish some scientific papers. In many countries or many universities, this is not something they focus on, but at Polytechnic, even at the research-based master, you'll have a chance to do at least 1 publication. And obviously at the PhD, this is something we expect of our students, to publish 1 or more papers. And this will give you a very good curriculum to present if you're at the master to go through a PhD. If you want to switch school and go somewhere else, you'll have a good resume, a scientific resume to present to be able to target a new professor to work with. And if you want to go to the job market, then you have something you have accomplished. You have a big paper, you have your thesis, you have something to present, so the employers will know that you did a great work. You did a management project, which was your research project, so you have something very sustainable to present and to sell yourself, let's say like that, your curriculum. Obviously, well, professional employability or scientific career goes by peer. If you have this research in hand and you want to knock to the doors of employers, they'll consider your research either as something very specific on what they do, so what you will bring them will solve some of their problems because they're very related to what you did in your research, or they'll see all the methodology parts that you have built along your studies, and they will say this will be an asset for us, so let's hire that person. So this is very something that employers are looking for. And if you want to go to a career, scientific career, if you have a PhD, then this is the first step to go through if you want to be a professor in a school, because PhD is necessary nowadays, even a postdoc, to get a teaching position. And if you work with the industry, most of our projects are very practical. Some are fundamental research, but it's only 20% of our research. So most of the projects that we offer or the professors offer will either be fully practical, or they will have 20% of fundamental research, and the rest will be very applied. So these projects will come from the industry, or they will come from projects that the professor have, and with your good work that you will be doing with them, you'll have your resume to apply in companies and have one step forward for your professional career. We discussed, or I talked a lot about the research, and I want to mention some very important point. If you are targeting a research program, you have to know that for applying, the first step would be to try to be in touch with a supervisor or a professor active in research at Polytechnique. This is one additional step to all the non-thesis programs, because to maximize your chances of being admitted, you have to find a professor that is willing and interested to supervise you. What does it mean? You have to search for it. So we have on the screen the website where you have to go to get all the tools for you to get supported in your contact with the professors. I presented you earlier all the spheres of excellence. These are great examples for you to browse on and to check what kind of projects we offer at Poly, who are the professors active in research. Is there some professors actively searching for new students? You'll find all the information on that website. So first, obviously, you have to know on what you want to research. So identify your research interest. Then check on the projects. But on that webpage, maybe you will not find something suitable for you. Just be aware that it's not all the professors who publish their research projects on our website. So be aware of that and just go beyond. And you see one professor that has a very nice curriculum for you that really fits your interest, write him an email. So maybe he's waiting for you. He didn't want to publish on the webpage his projects because he didn't want to receive too many emails, and then so when you will receive yours, that will be the perfect match. So just be proactive in that and write them an email. And how to send an email, that's the right questions. There's some good emails, there's some bad emails, some will never receive a reply, some will get many replies all the way from all the professors being contacted. So we have many advice given on our website on how to build your resume, how to build your emails, what to put on it. Obviously, we want you to send your resume because if you find the professor interesting to you, they want to know if you are interesting to them. So they need to know who you are, what you have done, what are you searching for, why are they special to you. So these are all the information you need to mention in your email. Now, if you're still interested but still doubting in doing graduate programs, there's some stuff you need to know. So when doing, no matter you're doing a DESS, a non-thesis master's, a research-based master's, or a PhD, what you will be doing will help you to get specialized in a field of interest that is your interest. So it will help you to be somebody else than from the other person who did the same undergrad as you or the same other program, professional program you did. You'll be able to specialize yourself. You'll get deeper knowledge in a given field also, because if you want to go deeper in a civil engineering program, for example, with something very specific to structures or water management, you'll take all the courses à la carte that will make you feel different from your colleague or your friend who is taking the same program but with different courses. So you'll have both very interesting curriculum but with different paths, and so different stuff to present to employers. You'll have also the opportunity to lead a complex project. It can be either your research thesis, that will be the complex project in itself. You'll have also the opportunity of doing an internship. That's a complex project, because the company or the professor will give you some project to go through. So you'll have to go from A to Z and present a report at the end. You'll be also able to be more competitive nationally or internationally. Your diploma will help you distinguish from other students. Many students are applying these days and they have all of them undergrad degree, engineering degree. If a company is receiving 100 curriculums, what do? They're trying to make a selective approach to maybe keep 10 of them. What will make you distinguish from the other resumes? Maybe because you have a master's, or you have a PhD, or you have a great GPA. So having a graduate study diploma will help you to be distinguished on that 100 resume that a company is receiving. Also, if you go to a PhD program, then obviously you'll be able to apply for a university position. And maybe if you start a PhD, you'll have opportunity of going abroad for a postdoc. Many connections will be given or open to you for your future career. And if you are a new immigrant or you are at the international at the moment and you want to immigrate to Quebec, doing graduate program will allow you to know better the Quebec community, integrate yourself, maybe learn a little bit of French, because if you do research, French is not necessarily necessary for you to undertake your studies. So you'll be knowing better the community, its values, and the professor will notice that. Admission process, there is many things you have to look through. So for the non-professional or the professional program, the non-thesis ones, which are the DSS and the professional masters, you have to check on the admission requirements. There is university prerequisites. We have many countries represented on our website, and so you can check on your country if you're coming from abroad, or and the GPA that is requested if you come from Canada or abroad. There is a specific GPA requested on a specific diploma to get into the professional programs and the research programs. We also target some language requirement. If you are opting for a professional program, we ask you to know French at the moment of admission. This is really, really important because the courses are given in French and we want you to be able to attend them and to collaborate with your colleagues. Once this is done, this is verified and you have all the admission requirements in place, then you can just submit your application online and send your supporting documents. For the research programs now, this is a bit different regarding the language and the research of a supervisor. Obviously, the admission prerequisites are the same, but better is your GPA and higher is your past degree, better are your chances to find a supervisor because you'll be becoming somebody very important and interesting to the professor you are writing to work with him. Other than that, there's the language. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, French is not necessary for the research program. So we accept either you know French and you have a proof of French exam, or we also accept you to know English. So we accept the TOEFL or the IELTS with a minimum score. I invite you to check on our website which are the minimum scores for each of the exams that we accept. And then you'll be good to start your studies and send along your application and send your supporting documents. There is admission deadlines for all of the programs. Check online which dates apply to your situation within Canada if you're international or local students, and for which semester you would like to apply. So Renato, maybe we have questions after all this presentation.
Yes, thank you, Maud, for this very detailed presentation. I'm sure students are more prepared for sending their admission request. So before I proceed to the questions, I would like to present to you the profile of one of our students, Jayotis Thomas, who is currently in the PhD level in physical engineering. She is going to tell you a little bit about her experience. So let's check her testimonial.
Hello everyone, myself Jayotis Thomas, an international research student at Polytechnique Montréal under the supervision of Professor Raman Kashyap. I completed an integrated Masters of Science in Photonics in International School of Photonics, India, Then I wanted to further explore my scientific aptitude in high-level research. I contacted Professor Raman Kashyap to explore the possibility to carry out a research under his supervision on solid-state laser cooling. I have been here almost 4 years and it has been an absolutely amazing experience. Polytechnic Montréal is a very prestigious school with many research opportunities. I belong to the Department of Engineering Physics, which offers an excellent environment of multidisciplinary research. Also, we have collaborations with many other universities and local industries. In addition to the financial support from my supervisor, I received the prestigious Merit Scholarship for International Students, the PBEE Quebec India Scholarship, to carry out my research at Polytechnique Montréal. There are plenty of scholarship and financial opportunities available for international students by Global Affairs of Canada and many other Canadian government departments and agencies. One of the unforgettable moments during my PhD life at Polytechnique Montréal was the participation in first North American Summer School on Photonic Material, which was held in Quebec City during June 2019. It was an incredible experience for me. The tutorials from world leaders on fundamentals and applications of photonic materials was awesome. Also, I was able to meet many other PhD students from all over the world. I thank my supervisor, Professor Raman Kashyap, and Polytechnique Montréal for giving me such a wonderful learning experience. Polytechnic offers its students world-class facilities, resulting in an excellent student experience, which include well-equipped libraries, dynamic sport facilities, on-campus student accommodation, cafeterias, excellent IT services, and beautiful outdoor spaces. Overall, it's a beautiful place to live in, and Polytechnique Montréal is the perfect place to study. If you want to know more about our experience at Polytechnique Montréal, I invite you to chat with me or other graduate students by visiting polymtl.ca/clevertouch. Also, please read our blog post to learn more about our journey. We look forward to chat with you. Thank you.
So I hope this message inspired you and made you want to know more about the day-to-day life of our students and what they do here at Polytechnique and the student experience here. So if it's the case, know that you can chat live with many students that have different backgrounds from different engineering programs, from different countries, and they are there to talk to you and answer your questions. To do so, you have to go to polymtl.ca/chat, and you can talk direct to them or to one of our advisors if you have any admission question or any general question. So I want to remind you how to ask your questions now. You have to sign in your Google or YouTube account, and if you don't have an account, you need to have one to ask your questions, and after, just send your questions in the place that say something, okay? Sorry about my English today. I think you see that I'm a bit nervous. But let's go, Mold. We forgot about my English. It's time for the questions. So I remind you that Mold cannot answer particular questions about particular cases. So if you have a question about your admission process at Polytechnique Montréal, you can write direct to us by mail, by chat, and it will be a pleasure to answer you. So let's see if you have any question here. So first question, Fabian asks, is it allowed to apply to the DSS, Master, and PhD at the same time?
Good question. If you fulfill all the admission requirements for these programs, yes, you can apply to all of these programs. Note that on one admission form, you can put up to 2 programs requests. So you could either put the higher level that maybe you doubt you would be admitted. Let's say you would like to do a PhD, you have already a master degree, then put a PhD And then obviously, if you have a name of a professor that you can put on your admission process, then put it. And then if you're not, or you don't have a professor's name and you're not sure if you would be admitted in the PhD, then you can put a second option program. That would be a master, research one, or non-thesis masters, or the DESS. But it's only 2 choices program on your admission. But make sure that if you apply, let's say, for the PhD because you know English but you don't know French, you will be refused if you put a DSS or a non-thesis master program if you don't know French, because this is a requirement. So make sure that you fulfill all the requirements for all the programs you want to apply on the same form.
Thank you, Maud. Now I have a really good question. So do your professors have partnerships with companies in the field of engineering, and will this help me to find a job after my studies?
Yeah, many of our professors, I don't have the direct number in head, but I think it's 17 or 19 professors that have industrial chair running with, in partnership with companies. These are professional research chairs, but we have also many professors working directly with companies outside of research chairs, and they build a long relationship with them so that allow you as a student working with these professors to work directly with the companies and maybe have to go once or twice a week to the company to understand better their needs, what is their concerns, their problems, and so your research is really in partnership with that company as if it was an internship, but it's really a research project. So if you do a good job after your studies, that company may want to hire you afterwards.
Perfect. So Felicia asks, is it possible to do a master's degree on a part-time basis?
Okay, there's many answers to that question. We have to distinguish if you're a Quebec or Canadian permanent resident student in Canada or if you're international student. If you're international student, part-time program is not allowed, as the immigration rules they ask international students to study full-time. If you're a Canadian or permanent resident or Quebec student, you are allowed to study part-time, but note that part-time is only allowed for the non-professional, non-thesis program, so the DSS and the non-thesis masters, as these are built-in credits or courses you take à la carte, as I mentioned, so you can decide just to take part-time credits. But if you do research, the professor who is hiring you or taking you as part of his research team, he is wanting you to work on the project, and he wants the projects to be fulfilled as soon as possible within the deadline, so he wants you to work full-time with him because he's also paying you if you do research.
Good. So Angela want to know, do you have any advice to help me identify the research team that most closely matches my interests?
Yeah, if you go back to our website on the research tab, the future/ES/EN, and you go to research, you'll be able to find all the directory of expertise of our professor. You can obviously go first to the 8 spheres of excellence, but then after you can go to our directory of professors, and the right corner of that page, you will find all the list of the themes that our professors work on. So you can just click on 1 or 2 or many, and then you'll see the curriculum of professors who apply to these themes, and you'll be able to focus and read about their resume and see if this is really what you would like to do, and if this is something interesting to you.
So Maud, we have a question that a lot of international students ask us. Can a student do a master research program only without knowing any French, only in English?
That's a good question that we are asked very often. Montreal is a very bilingual city. Obviously, Polytechnique is officially French, but with the amount of international students that we have, with the amount of professors that are graduated from abroad and who are not necessarily born in Quebec, they speak other language, they're from Iran, they're from China, they're from India. French is not their first language. So they understand you if you come here without knowing French, if you present your IELTS or TOEFL exam to get into a research-based master's or a PhD, and they will adapt. They will bring you facilities for you to do your exams in English. They will even allow you to take some English courses at some English universities located in Montreal. And the school is really adapted for a bilingual environment. And Montreal is really a metropole in the province. There is some regions in Montreal where there's no French spoken, and there is some other regions where there's no English spoken. So you can decide where you would like to live to have this English environment. And obviously, we're more than welcome for you to learn French, and we have all the facilities for you for free, included in your tuition fees, to learn French if you are willing to do so.
So another question that we receive a lot from international students, and based Maude in your experience with international students and what you see, is it easy, the integration process at Polytechnique Montréal and the city of Montreal?
The city of Montreal, I think I've given some information before. Montreal is very multicultural. There is many neighborhoods where different languages are spoken. Chinese is spoken in a Chinatown. There is a lot of Spanish spoken among all the different neighborhoods targeting different American Latin countries. So there is, in the neighborhood where Polytechnique Montreal is located, there is over 100 languages spoken from different countries. So this is without saying that the integration within the city is very easy. And within the school, we have so many international students that you will feel that you know your colleagues right away. So many will come from the same country as you. Many will come from different countries, but they will be all alone like you when they arrive. So we have very many activities for you to be integrated, and we have also Poly International that is organizing many activities for you to participate, to visit different cities around the province, to participate in different cultural events. So I bet you will find something for you to be integrated to the Quebec Society and also to the Polytechnique Society.
Thank you, Maude. So now a question about the research fundings. Can we be paid more than $22,000 if you work more hours and do the PhD faster?
Okay, this is not, as I mentioned, the $22,000 for the PhD or $18,500 for the master's is not a salary. So it cannot be counted to a number of hours that you'll be working per week. So the answer, quick, will be no. This is like a financial support that the professor is providing you. But if you want to make more money, then maybe you can discuss with your supervisor. Is it possible for you to do some extra work that would be different from the support, the financial support that you're getting from the professor? Maybe you could be teaching assistant that would give you a different salary. Maybe you could work in a part-time company during the weekend if your supervisor allow you and it doesn't affect your work. So this way you could accumulate among money that could bring to your bank accounts. And also maybe your professor will suggest you to apply to different scholarships that will be accumulated on top of this financial support. This is also something possible.
So another question in the subject of financial aspects, Lucas want to know, is the financial support enough to cover all the students' expenses?
Okay. If you go to our website to the cost and finances tab, you will see what are the tuition fees for the different programs. So that question of Lucas, it could be either related to the research-based master's or the PhD, I don't know. If we look at the tuition fees, and I bet Lucas is an international student, if Lucas, you are interested into the research-based master, the tuition fees are quite higher compared to the PhD, and so your financial support will cover your tuition fees but may not give you that much money for paying for your living expenses in Montreal. So you could check in having some savings to live in the city in Montreal. But if you're looking for the PhD, the tuition fees are the same among international students, Canadian students, Quebec students. We don't do any difference between the status of the student, and the tuition fees are very, very low, and they are the same for everybody. So the $22,000 that you would get from the supervisor would be highly enough for you to pay your tuition fees and pay for your living expenses within the city during your studies.
Thank you, Maud. So now a question about the PhD. How many years at least are required to finish a PhD?
We often say that a PhD is 3 years because most of the scholarships are based on a 3 years program. But in reality, do not expect to finish your PhD in 3 years. This is almost impossible. Most of PhD can be done in 4 years, and this is the average, and some will extend it to 5 years, and depending how goes your projects, some others are not so committed to it, and some issues could happen, so it could be longer. But the average would be 4 to 5 years for a PhD, while the research masters or the professional masters would be 2 years.
Perfect. So now a really good question. Does the non-thesis master give you access to the PhD afterwards?
That's a really good question that we are asked also. Obviously, if you are already thinking in doing a PhD, the research-based masters always apply easier because you would get all the methodology to write a thesis and to lead a research program. If you start with a non-thesis masters or the professional master, there is nothing impossible. Obviously, there is some PhD that are specifically targeting the market industry, and you could do a PhD that is, let's say, industrial PhD. So non-thesis masters could lead to a PhD, but it's not the path that most of the students takes, but it's not impossible.
Well, we see that the PhD is really popular today. We have another question about it. How many hours per week is the investment required to do a PhD?
Hey, this is a good question. I didn't do a PhD myself, so I didn't experience it, but I would say it's just a full-time job. If you go work to a company, you would work, let's say, 40 hours per week. It's at least the minimum you should invest in a PhD. But I don't want to generalize or answer for any students that are doing their PhD who would do more or less. But I would expect you, or if I was a professor, I would expect you to work as much as I work, which would be a full-time job.
Good. Now a question about the curriculum. I see that some courses in the curriculum offered here at Polytechnique are actually offered by UDM, Université de Montréal. If you're able to choose à la carte, could you choose a course from UDM in the catalog?
So no matter if we talk about the non-thesis programs or the research program, there is a possibility for you to take courses either at UDM, which is Université de Montréal, our affiliated school, who do not offer engineering courses, as well as taking courses at some other universities located within Montreal or outside Montreal. So at the non-thesis programs, we allow students to take up to half of their course credits at some other school. While for the research programs, you can take, for example, if you don't speak French and there is no English courses offered in your field of engineering offered in English at Poly, you can take all of your course credits outside of Polytechnique Montréal at some English language universities.
Perfect. So is there a minimum number of credits to take for a part-time studies? And would the tuition be calculated by the credit per semester?
Okay, that question applies to the non-thesis programs. The tuition fees are calculated always per semester and according to the number of credits you take per semester. So if you take only one class this coming semester, you'll be charged only for that one class. If you take 5 classes, then you'll be charged for these 5 classes. And regarding the minimum of credits, minimum, I guess, would be 1 course, so it would be 3 credits. You can skip 1 semester if you don't want to study. Obviously, this is only for Quebec or Canadian students. International students, I repeat, have to study full-time. So you can skip semesters without studying, but you cannot skip more than 2 semester, because if you do not study for 1 year, then you have to apply again. So just keep your account active, but minimum would be, I guess, 1 or 0, depending on your situation.
Okay, so we have one question that is kind of 2 questions. Let's go. Do we need to declare in advance if we would take any courses for the next semester or not? And the other question is, do we need to declare when we start the first semester at the time of accepting the offer of the admission offer?
I'm not sure to understand really that question. I don't know if that question is from someone who is already admitted. If you send your admission letter, your admission procedures, and you are admitted, then few weeks before the semester starts, you will have to choose your courses. And it will go like this every semester. So only few weeks before the semester starts, the platform opens for you to select your courses. And the second question was?
If you have to tell what semester you start your students at the moment you accept the offer, admission offer.
So if you're admitted to, let's say, next fall semester, we are thinking that you will start in the next semester. But if you accept it, you can also defer your admission start. So you could just say, I will not start in fall. I would like, for any reasons, immigration purposes or whatever, decide to just postpone it to the winter one.
Perfect. Another question about the PhD, but I think it's the same thing for the research masters. How much time before the PhD should we find a supervisor?
Okay, if we check on the admission deadlines, the admission deadlines are, let's say, for international student, because it's the bigger length or bigger time in advance. If you want to apply for fall semester, the deadline would be March 1st. So if you want to be in the time to respect the deadline, you should start now in trying to find your supervisor, right? Because it may take time. You may send some emails, professor will not reply, or they will reply they're waiting for some funding, so they cannot decide if they can take you or not because they have no money at the moment. So this could be a long process, not because you're not good or the professor are not interested, because the conjuncture and the situation may lead to take longer time to get you a decision. So better in advance you are, better are your chances to get an admission.
Thank you, Maud. Now Alex wants to know, what if I want to do research but I cannot find a supervisor? Do I have any other option for an admission at Polytechnique?
Okay. If you target research programs and you have followed all the advice we have on our website to find a supervisor, but it doesn't lead to a positive answer or to any answer at all, you can still apply to that program without having a supervisor name on it. But the chances are not guaranteed that you will be admitted. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, you can always put two programs on your admission form. So you could target if you fulfill the admission requirement also for that program, but you could put a second choice that is non-research program, let's say the DESS or the non-thesis masters. In this case, there is no supervision officially required prior to the admission process for you to do. So there is more chances for you to be admitted in that professional program.
Okay, another question about the PhD. When does a PhD program usually start?
There is no specific time for starting a PhD. We have 3 semesters a year for the admission. We have the fall one that starts end of August. We have the winter one that starts early January. And we have the summer one that starts early May. So you have to start to one or the other semesters to start your PhD, because you cannot start in the middle of a semester. But you have to apply accordingly to one of the 3 semesters offered.
So we have a last question about the non-thesis master. A few listeners actually want to know more about potential employers for internships, and does the student have to make contact on their own with the employers?
Okay. Yeah, as we have seen, the non-thesis masters include either an internship or a small research program project. So if you opt for the internship, we have many facilities for you to find your internship. We have one service that is called La Ruche, where we have the list of all the employers that are looking for new interns. So they publish their projects offer for you to apply. So you have to apply, send your resume, go through an interview, and receive an offer. So if you go through La Ruche, then you'll have many options for you. But La Ruche targets companies within Montreal and within the province of Quebec. So if you want to go somewhere else, some other countries, or some other companies that is located within the province but do not offer specific projects at the time, you are allowed to go to knock to the doors to the employers you would like to work with and just introduce yourself and see if they have an internship to offer. So we have no limitation in this sense, but if you need help, we're there to support.
Thank you very much, Maud. And I remind you that this month of February, we have many information sessions. So if you want to get to know more about the admission, about our engineer programs, or a lot of things, you can come to our activity, Destination Polytechnique Montréal, and subscribe to our information sessions. We also offer, for those who are in Quebec or are going to come to Quebec, some guided tour in person. So if you wanted to subscribe, you can also go to the web page. So the web page is polymtl.ca/en/destination polymtl. So you can also come to see our site web for future students, and bien sûr, of course, ask us questions about your interest of coming to Polytechnique Montréal. So thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you, Mold, for your presentation. Thank you, Giotis, for your testimonial. I hope to see you in another information session. See you.